This is how the Capitol Theater looked back in the 70s and early 80s when it used to show first-run movies. And this is how it looks today. The marquee is gone and the front has been radically changed, with storefronts now occupying the old entrance to the theater. The Danville Business Alliance is in the early phases of an effort to see if it can turn this property back into a multi-use cultural arts center where you would be able to watch a stage company, movies, and ballet.
Things that we've considered, for example, are perhaps allocating a portion of it for meeting space, small conferences, maybe an art gallery. You know, there's a lot of potential. There are a lot of options there, and part of the process, assuming that community support is there for a community arts center, would be to explore those options, identify who the key stakeholders and key interest groups would be who might use the Arts Center, and then go from there and begin to flesh out the details on something that would seem to be, both from a building standpoint and an economic standpoint, a feasible plan for the downtown and the community.
We're told the screen is still there, along with a stage and an orchestra pit. Wilson says they can definitely see the potential of over 14,000 square feet with this underutilized great asset. There have also been changes made since it essentially stopped being a theater in the early 80s. There aren't any bathrooms in the front, and a second floor was essentially built into the theater. But an architect who worked on the renovations at the Campus Theater in Lewisburg says that may not be such a bad thing.
At the Campus Theater, for instance, there was so much historic fabric intact. We really were kind of, in a lot of ways, obligated to honor it, preserve it intact, and not make major changes that maybe would have allowed for more flexible usages. Where here, those things have kind of been changed. The front of the stage is a good example. It's kind of been deconstructed to some extent, so we could extend it forward and make it a bigger stage, which would allow for bigger, theater companies and different, more different uses. Same with that second floor mezzanine. If it wasn't built, we probably wouldn't build it, but now that it's there, we can kind of accept it, and it provides additional square footage for some of the potential uses Jim mentioned.
The DBA is in talks with the building's owner and says he seems interested in selling it, but they say the most important thing is trying to gauge how much support and interest there is in this project from the community. The DBA needs to determine that before they even begin raising funds for it. Chris O'Rourke for SECV8 News in Danville.